In breaking news, Spider-Man not captured. In other news, ReCore failed. A flat-out, unpolished, inexcusable loading screen filled bonanza of a video game. For some reason, this seems to rally a lot of Microsoft loyalists, the coined corporate slaves, who will fight like wounded jackals all because an exclusive underperformed. How did we get to this point of rampant personal attacks, insane strawmanning, and this overarching conspiracy of deliberate media bias against Microsoft? Well, if you haven't seen my last video regarding this subject on the Invisible Console War, then that's something partly to do with it. A best friend of mine once said that brand loyalty to a console is like a dick measuring contest. Only the best of the best may apply with this analogy, when in all actuality the best of the best will relate to a multi-platform user, particularly with a PC and a PS4 in my opinion. If the argument always deals with who has the bulk of unique exclusives, then it's clear that the Sony PlayStation 4 is obviously the clear victor, since there's games like Uncharted 4, Bloodborne, Ratchet & Clank, and even the now unreleased Spider-Man getting people hyped up that are only available on that Sony platform for now. PC is pretty much the king of performance, so if you want a multi-plat game that doesn't suffer the hindrance of a downgrade like Battlefield 1 is getting on the Xbox One with a 720p resolution, then I personally get to enjoy the game at 1080 60 FPS as an example. Let's go with the crux of the issue, which are the reviews themselves. Every time an exclusive comes out, there's always someone complaining about it. There's always someone complaining about the quality of the review and the state of the game. But let's constructively break down what always occurs in those regards when it comes to the Microsoft militia. Number one is review scores. Review scores will always be exactly what you think they are. It's another person giving their opinion on a game they may or may not have enjoyed. You don't particularly have to agree with those opinions, but the tried and true statement still applies. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and sometimes they can be full of shit. Which is case in point for certain reviewers who don't finish their games properly from start to finish. To take a review as a personal insult or to see the behavior of people wanting to boycott an opinion is ridiculous. I might not agree with everyone, we all have our disagreements, but there are ways to do it intelligently without looking like a complete moron. I'm not sure if people are still not getting the basic concept. There will be good games, there will be middle of the road games, there will be bad games that don't set a standard of quality. I love the intricate nature of game design. Don't get me wrong, these people put in hours of their lives to see it through, and I can understand how much they try to persevere to get a game finished. However, it involves design. You must realize sometimes trying to design something can be fallible with trying to obtain a certain purpose for how a gameplay mechanic particularly works. What you might deem as tolerable trying to sit through a 2-minute long loading screen is something I would deem as unacceptable against games that try to set a standard for no more loading screens in 2016. Prime examples are Batman Arkham Knight and GTA 5, which tries to have as many things booted up as possible so there's no loading screens hindering your progress in game after that initial boot screen. Number 2, ReCore's glaring issues. As usual in life, mistakes can't be discredited. They help us learn better as people, but not in this case. ReCore is the brainchild of Concept, with Mr. Inafune sitting right there on the board with his smug face as a producer. If past situations can come to light, these guys have been striking out hard. First with the blunder that is Mighty Number 9, now with the blunder that is ReCore. How valid are these claims and issues that resulted in the game's misfortune? Well, we have to take into account that the average key phrases of a lot of reviews paints us a narrative. It tells us that ReCore suffers from a host of issues like long loading times, technical issues, and extreme difficulty spikes along with very cheap enemies. All of which combined together sounds like it makes for a very frustrating experience. I don't even think that covers a good sum of bugs in detail, but from what I gathered, Ars Technica also cited major bugs in their review, and the user score on Metacritic also correlates to the same score as the critics. So we're looking at a mostly below average experience. Number 3 is the final key point I would like to talk about, and that is the reaction to a console exclusive failing. Fanboyism is never a good thing for anyone. It solves nothing and has the person in question look pretty foolish for their words of choice if there's no common sense involved. At the end of the day, every video game is a piece of entertainment no matter the system. The glaring breadcrumb trail always centers back to the Xbox fanatics making up outlandish concepts when a game they have fails. The typical behavior I'm seeing is if a reviewer makes a bad review on an Xbox exclusive, it's media bias. Whenever Sony makes an exclusive and it fails, the invisible console war is always fueled by the opposing side, and they always make a scene about it. Whenever any facts are pointed out about the Scorpio or an Xbox exclusive underperforming, people tend to point the finger at PC either being too hard to set up or cite how things get overlooked in particular in Sony exclusives respectively. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to be real even if you're on the opposing side that likes to give a lot of brand loyalty to corporations. Things like this are redundant, nonsensical even to defend something that has a myriad of issues that makes me believe that today's modern gamer would rather overlook all the problems and concerns for a game to think that a corporation is perfect. All things have flawed tendencies behind them. All things are not perfect. You cannot expand your horizons if you're a part of the problem. You're buying into lies and deceit, which is why developers want to rush out buggy pieces of filth and people will buy it. That's not the way to go, and that's not okay. But you know what? Believe what you want. I, on the other hand, will make things right where it counts, and I will always vote for games with my wallet. Even if it's a long, arduous process, it's the main process that a lot of AAA developers and publishers fear every day when they do bad practices, when things get overlooked, and they don't make up for it with their bottom dollar. I won't hold my breath if this video doesn't convince any rationality on others who are chaotic about video games, but I can speak for myself. I aim for fun, quality video games to be entertained by them with less performance issues as possible. If a product is subpar after analyzing it, then I will save my money for something necessary and needed elsewhere. As a PC and PS4 owner, I get the best of both worlds, exclusives and performance, and I wouldn't have it any other way.